What's going on, everybody? Excuse me. That always happens. Thursday night, Fandom Empire Live. It's going to be a little bit of a laid-back show. Mr. Tommy B is in the chat. Shouldn't you be in bed? I thought you'd be sleeping by now, man. This is going to be a fun one. Joining me tonight, he is the co-host of the Fandom Unplugged podcast over on our Patreon program. It's Mr. Matt Whitfield. What's going on, man?
How you doing, sir? You having a good evening?
It's been a rough day. Just felt like crap all day, but really wanted to get on here and talk about some of this stuff. I think it's all very relevant to what's going on right now, and excited to dive into it. I mean, it's a full show. You got Danielle Harris lead a new Halloween movie.
Of course, my baby mama gonna be able to lead a Halloween movie. That's
Friday the 13th, the franchise. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the show. Is there a movie? We'll talk about that. Indiana Jones 5. I haven't even gotten the premiere reactions ready yet, but they will be by the time we get to it. And then CM Punk and the Elite. Pardon my fucking language here, but Jesus Christ, can we have enough of this shit already? Like, come on. This shit's getting old. Anyways, also joining us, first time on a live stream. He's done some stuff behind the scenes for us before in our short-lived website history. Yeah, that's right. We had a website at one point in time. I believe this individual wrote a pretty intriguing article on Star Wars games. Joining us for the first time is Randy. How's it going, man?
It's not going too bad. Just kind of enjoying the day since I've been off this week. And obviously, I know we're going to talk about some AEW stuff, but last night's Dynamite, man, I tell you, leading into Collision on Saturday, they did a real good job of setting things up.
Yeah, it was just downright amazing. Like, I was not expecting that kind of show. I was expecting them to come out with a big effort, but like that's probably like an all-time Dynamite. And I mean, we'll get to AEW at the end of the show, but funny enough, the ratings went down, not up. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I like if you're gonna boost your ratings minus the guy we're gonna talk about tonight, you would have thought last night definitely would have done it. Although a lot of it wasn't advertised. You know, you didn't know you were gonna get a lot of what you got last night. So I think all can be forgiven there. First of all, big thanks to everybody coming out in the chat. You guys didn't have much notice about a live stream tonight, and here we are. There's about 25 people watching at the moment, and we're going to talk a bunch of different things tonight. Right off the top, though, before we go any further, are either of you planning to see The Flash?
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
I want to. Just don't know how the hell I'm going to do it yet. We moved out to the middle of nowhere, and I'm kidding you not. There is no movie theater out here playing The Flash at all. It's like, are you kidding me? To give you an example, the closest theater is about 30 minutes from here. It has 3 screens, and it only plays 3 movies. And The Flash is not one of them. And in fact, Spider-Verse is just, or whatever it's called, is just opening up this week. So, yay, the living in the middle of nowhere life. You guys got big expectations for that movie? I heard really good things about it.
Yeah, I've heard different things about it.
For me, obviously, I don't know what to expect just because it's like, I know this form of the DCEU is going to be it's the end of it. And because James Gunn has already gone on record saying that this is going to be the reset point that transitions into his DC universe. So as long as it goes out with a bang, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I mean, the fact that they got Keaton back to play Batman, I'm just excited about that by itself.
Isn't Aquaman the last movie that's going to be part of the universe before James Gunn takes over?
Technically, yes, but this is the one that's going to be this jump-off point for Gunn's movie, because this is going to kind of reset everything. I'm assuming that the next Aquaman movie is going to be prior to all this or happening at the same time.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
There's I don't know who here. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably listening to podcasts and YouTube channels. There is a excellent interview right now over on Michael Rosenbaum's channel. Those of you that don't know who Michael Rosenbaum is, he played Lex Luthor in Smallville. It's actually probably running one of the most popular Hollywood podcasts in terms of highlighting people in Hollywood. And James Gunn's a longtime friend of his, like far before Success. And he was just on the show, and I do wonder if James Gunn revealed too much on that show in terms of what's coming in his new DC universe or whatever they're calling it. But they do touch on how this one's wrapping up and how the next one's beginning. And like, it's just super insightful on so many levels. I strongly suggest if you're a James Gunn fan or just a comic book fan in general, go listen to that interview. It's like an hour and a half, and it's just, you'll totally nerd out. So the elephant in the room, we cover a lot of Halloween content on this channel, and I couldn't help but notice recently that, and I don't watch too much YouTube anymore, in terms of like other like content creators in our space. I'll watch stuff with hockey or, you know, stuff with like just exclusively wrestling or something. But I'll still get like the notifications, and they all do, a lot of them do great work. But I keep like seeing people refer to, if there's another Halloween movie, it can't do whatever because it needs to make X amount of dollars. And I just hate the idea. And I mean, I get it. It's the industry. You want to make money. But I hate the idea that it seems like a lot of the Halloween fandom right now thinks that every future movie that comes out has to be like the last three in terms of marketing and scale. And I mean, the budget for 2018 was nothing, you know, it was $10 million. But there was a lot more put into the marketing for that movie. So I hate the idea that even though it's a franchise film, people think that it has to be this big blockbuster. You can make horror low budget, even franchise films. I firmly believe that. Before we get into the Danielle Harris topic, I just want to know where you guys stand on that. Do you think, like a franchise film, not just for example, Natty Knox is coming out. That's not a franchise film. It's extremely low budget. But I totally believe you can still make a Friday film like that, or a Halloween film like that, or a Nightmare film like that, and not have it be this big thing that needs Jamie Lee Curtis plastered all over the marketing. Do you guys think there's still a space like that for horror in Hollywood in terms of franchises?
I mean, of course. I mean, the original Halloween, $325,000. What sold it? What got people interested? Word of mouth, people talking about it. That's how it got sold. It got popular and was able to make money. It wasn't a big marketing plan or anything like that did it. It was purely word of mouth, and word of mouth will always be the best form of advertising, bar none. But yeah, that's how. Oh, people are like, oh, down on Halloween and everything, and oh, such and such is, oh, I'm not going to see that and everything. People go to the movie. Oh my God, it was a good movie. They tell their friend, oh my God, there was a friend movie, great movie. That friend tells two more friends, and that's how you get it going again. So I don't think you need a big Jamie Lee Curtis having anything to do with these movies ever again to put people in the seats.
See, and my thought is, and in a way I agree with you, Matt, but the thing is here's the thing. If you can do the small things right, it doesn't have to be big major budget. It doesn't have to be just special effects out the wazoo. If you have set the tone of the film properly, if it's a solid script, if you have great music, and you can just bring in that atmosphere, you can take any amount of money and turn it into something amazing. But that's unfortunately that's Hollywood nowadays really doesn't do that as much. Obviously, we can look at even, and I'm obviously transitioning here. It's like you can look at Star Wars. Like think about The Force Awakens, how well received that was, but then everything for the marketing for the second two just blew up even more so than The Force Awakens. So what happened was everybody had these extremely high expectations, and because of that, the same thing happened with Halloween. That once they actually saw the last two films, it was a downward spiral for them because it wasn't what they were expecting or what they felt they were promised in all the promotion material.
I think Halloween Kills was fairly consistent as far as marketing as what was going to happen, but Ends was not.
Sorry, yeah. For a second, I thought you just said Ends. I was like, did Matt get hit in the head today? Weren't we the ones behind the scenes going, oh my God, we're going to have to deal with it's like 5 months before the movie comes out. We're just like, the backlash is going to be ridiculous. You're going to have half the fandom that finds a way to love it because of its art and the story it tries to tell. If it's not a Halloween movie, it tells a fine story. But it is a Halloween movie. And in my opinion, it's not a very good one. But to those that love it, that's great. But we all knew here that come the release of Halloween Ends, the fandom was going to not necessarily change, but it was going to feel a little bit like The Last Jedi when it came out.
I agree. I definitely can see that. And what's interesting is, and it's just not off topic, but when we're talking about like the small budget and making a really solid movie in that respect, when Matt and I when we were getting ready to see Halloween, when it was coming back to theaters, we actually went to see the anniversary edition when they, cleaned it up and put it in HD. They completely, they ruined it because all the shadowing, all the effects they did when they were first released was ruined because they brightened everything up. So like all those tense moments were just ruined because they decided we got to clean it up and put it in HD. No, that's what made the movie. Having that setting, that atmosphere, you just ruined the atmosphere, and people were laughing at the movie rather than actually just enjoying it because that's why I'm like, if you can do that, do the small things right, doesn't matter the size of budget you have, you can still make a great horror movie.
I haven't looked at the chat yet. I'm going to here shortly. And if anybody has any questions or comments or anything like that they want to share, please do so in the chat. If you want to support the channel on another level, the number one way you can do that, as always, is check out our Patreon program that's now named Fandom Fanatics. It's patreon.com/Fandom Empire. We got a ton of bonus content going over there all the time now. All those short little videos you're starting to see us do on our various channels, almost all of them have longer form videos. And to get the full video, it'll be like, it's not like we're hiding a bunch of like secret, super awesome content. It's just more in-depth discussion. It's not like we're hiding any like news pieces or rumors or scoops or anything like that over there. It's just a more in-depth conversation on what you see in those little videos. They're available over on Patreon. I was going somewhere with that and I completely lost it. So before I go any further on that, the chat. Yes, if you have a question or comment, just please leave it. Even if it doesn't have to be a super chat. If it is, great. But if it's not, just get your thoughts in there and we'll address them how we can. And actually, before we get to the topic, why don't we see what's going on right now in the chat? This Dumbo says good evening. Trey Alexander, I see CM Punk in AEW. This one I gotta see. Personally, I love CM Punk and always will. I'm very pro Punk, but I know there's some people that'll see this and disagree. I feel like I've tried to be as honest and as unbiased as I possibly can surrounding the brawl out situation. I know a lot of people who aren't doing that, but I've tried to approach it from that way. You guys are both Punk guys too, right?
I mean, I think Punk is definitely one of the greatest, and obviously, yeah, he's going to have personality quirks, and there will be some issues. But like I said last time we recorded, there's going to be those times when, because of the social media, we're going to hear and see things that we normally would never have heard back when we were in the in the 90s and the 80s, and that stuff was going on all the time, more so than it was back then. So it's crazy, but we just got to move forward.
Yeah, you're pro punk, right? We talk punk a lot, but I don't know if I've actually been like, is he one of your favorites or anything? I don't know if he's one of your favorites. I know you don't mind him.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, he's probably top 5 for me. He's not Bret Hart. Sorry.
No, I thought John Cena was your favorite.
I have respect for what he did. Let's see. Next Gen Studios. I think Halloween 4 is too. Ouch. Niche to have another movie. No way they revisit another timeline. The main saga is done. It depends what you classify as the main saga. Like, I think there is a far greater chance they go back to Jamie Lloyd, Danielle Harris, or John Tate, aka Josh Hartnett, than there is Jamie Lee Curtis ever does something again. And for me, even though I'm not the biggest Jamie Lee Curtis fan, I would say that her stuff is probably considered by most as the main part of the franchise, where for me, I kind of consider everything that Donald Pleasance did with Dr. Loomis as the main part of the franchise. Where do you guys fall with that?
Well, I agree completely.
Makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. He made those movies. He's what, and not Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm sorry. She was a person that was she was a sympathetic character. That's what, and she was Hollywood later on, but Donald Pleasance is what made those movies go.
I got a WWE comment here. Forgive me, I'm not the most educated on new WWE stuff. I definitely have followed the Bloodline stuff from afar, but Trey says Bloodline is my least favorite, Seth being the better champ. I think what I've seen from afar, these two could speak to it far better than I could. I think anyway. Everything I've got to see on YouTube or wherever with Roman Reigns seems like probably the best thing WWE has done in a very long time. I just think the fact that he's part-time now makes it harder for them to advance that story. But also, like, I think WWE randomly reposted a 6-man tag match of CM Punk and the Usos. And you look at the Usos and where they are today compared to where they were in that 6-man tag match. And like, both of those guys are worth so much more in terms of fandom, fame, and money. So I think they've done a really good job of building that out. And once again, might I just add, Paul Heyman's involved. Just say, where you guys fall with the Bloodline stuff?
I disagree with Trey completely. The Bloodline's probably one of the best storylines and teams since Evolution. So I completely disagree. I think what they're doing right now, that it's almost like beneficial that Roman is part-time, because it's dragging the storyline out and it's keeping people interested. They don't have to have Roman there every week or every couple weeks. Give him once a month to just show up and let his presence be known and what he wants or something like that. They don't need him to be there the whole time.
Well, see, the thing is, and I know WWE says they have a plan for all this. Obviously, Bloodline has been their best story in a while. Obviously, I'm over the Bloodline. I'm waiting for this thing to crumble, because I feel like a lot of wrestlers who should have had bigger, better opportunities have not gotten them because of this storyline, and they've just had to sit there and wait and bide their time. And it's all about building the next generation and building that next superstar. And obviously with Seth Rollins, he's definitely done that on his own. He's kept reinventing himself.
Mm-hmm.
and is this that much better. And he's such a great wrestler to begin with, great on the mic. He's definitely going to be a great champ. Hopefully they don't have him drop that belt anytime soon. But I feel like, and this is my personal opinion, and I'm sure some people will echo this, but I felt like they wasted, even though I felt like it was wasted, but like when they had Sami Zayn over as much as they did, and he loses at Elimination Chamber, then you have Cody losing at WrestleMania the way he did, when he's as over as he's ever been in any promotion. It just felt like it, even though to me it felt like a waste. I understand they're trying to say, oh, the story's not over yet, there's still more to go. I don't know if, say, WrestleMania next year, if the pop will be as big as it would have been this past year if Cody would have actually won. That's the problem. That's why I have issues with the Bloodlines. I just feel like they're taking moments away from people that deserve those moments, and I just don't know if they're going to get them back in the way they would have had them at the present time.
Trying to unmute myself. I don't want to hear you guys to hear me typing. So, again, I feel like my opinion's not the most valid because I do not watch week to week, and I have not had to endure anything. It's just, if there's late at night, up early in the morning, I'm just trying to kill some time, and it's like, oh, there's a new WWE thing on the Bloodline, so I'll throw it on YouTube. I do have a problem with the world champion, Universal, Galaxy, whatever the fuck they're calling things now over there, being part-time. That bothers me. I remember when the champ had to defend the title once every 30 days, no matter what. And to me, that's the way it should still be. I get it. It's worth a lot of money. I worry that they're just having him hold it until The Rock is eventually available to do that match, and he'll probably still beat The Rock. I don't know who you have beat. I thought Cody was lined up great. I thought Cody could not have been hotter. I don't know what the hell he's doing, versing Rey Mysterio's kid or whatever. Buddy Matthews' arch nemesis.
It's just a one-off until Cody gets Brock one more time, and that's really what that's all about. But no, you're right. Cody was definitely never hotter than going into this past WrestleMania, and I get they're going to try to build him back up, the whole redemption story of getting back to that shot at Roman, and I'm pretty sure Cody's the one that dethrones him in the end. I feel like they kind of have to dethrone him because by the time you face The Rock, if he's got the title, then how can you have that suspension of disbelief of The Rock having a chance? So really, Roman needs to drop that belt to make it feel bigger when The Rock and him face off, so that they can actually make it feel like there's a chance The Rock could win that.
It's actually a great point in terms of, and we'll move on after this. And I see that the chat's actually really active tonight, so we are going to get to as many of your questions as we can. We won't be able to get to every one of them. If you want to prioritize it and send in a super chat, but we'll get to as many of them as we can. We just got a lot of topics to get through tonight. I never thought about that. Have him drop the belt to whomever, hopefully Cody. I still don't think Cody will ever be as hot as he was this past WrestleMania. But then whatever happens at Mania, like if The Rock happens to be available for Mania, you don't need the title in that match, and all of a sudden the title's in another match and your card is deeper, and that makes sense. I like that idea. All right, so let's get to 28 minutes into this thing. We're just getting to this. Danielle Harris, can she still lead a new Halloween movie? That is why I brought up the topic of can franchises specifically still do low budget horror? And my answer to that is, or my answer to this question is, if you don't believe you can still do low budget horror with franchises, and it needs to be this, super marketed thing, and it can't just be this, low price, straight to streaming service or to theaters, but, is spreads by word of mouth. I think that depends on whether Danielle Harris can lead or not. You're not going to have Danielle Harris be the lead of your blockbuster Halloween movie. You're just not. Hate to burst people's bubble on that one, because I want to see her back in the role of Jamie Lloyd more than most. But in terms of marketable people in Hollywood for big budget movies, Some people have it. Some people don't. I'm not a big Jamie Lee Curtis fan, but she has it. You know who doesn't? Here's an example of someone who doesn't. Charlie Hunnam. Loved him in Sons of Anarchy. Every big budget thing that he's done in cinemas has not gone well when he's the lead. And yet some of the movies are fantastic. It's just people have this metric, this measure now that in order for a movie to be good, it has to be financially successful. And I don't believe that's the case. Like, I can like a movie that was a complete flop at the box office. Hello, Dr. Sleep. So where do you guys fall on can Danielle Harris lead a new Halloween movie? And where's the chat fall? Do you guys think realistically that Malaka Cad and Trankus and whomever they partner with would bring back Danielle Harris as the lead, not in like a one-off episode for a streaming service, an actual 2 cinemas movie? Comment in the chat and let us know your answer. Randy, Matt, where do you guys fall with this one?
I think it depends. I think it really depends. If you're going for that big blockbuster field, no. You would really have to load up the cast to help support her and get other names in that could really help your billing in that respect. But if it's low budget and it's done well, and I don't see it's not impossible. No matter how improbable it really is, it's not impossible. But I feel like the only way you're going to get that is if they actually aren't trying to go for big mega blockbuster. You have to go with that small, not even artistic, but just that small, very well done, very well written screenplay, that story, everything. It just has to be it's just got to be done well. And if it is, then I mean, she did well in this Hatchet series. I enjoyed her in that. So it's, like I said, it's not impossible. I just feel like it really depends on how big and bold they plan on being with it.
I think for me, I think she can. And I think so many people want to see what could have happened with Jamie Lloyd. And of course this could be canon because what they did to her and her character in 6 was just crap. And plus they lowballed her anyway for someone returning to a series. But I think she could be part of a cast for a blockbuster. They would have to the way I would see it is she would have to be third billing. I think you could do Josh Hartnett as a 2. And if you were doing this, if you wanted to, I would bring back I would bring back her, Josh Hartnett, and I'd find somebody to play Loomis. Not Loomis, Loomis's son. That's where the big name's going to come in. I think if you can hit on that, and you could bring all 3, bring Hartnett and her back, and it works. But as far as her completely, it would probably be good story, and if it's good, word of mouth.
So, first of all, I didn't even know she was in Hatchet.
Oh yeah,
what's her role in that?
She was.
Sorry. I thought Randy implied that there was an actual series out for it, not a movie. I misheard. my apologies.
Have you seen the Hatchet movies?
No, I haven't. I've heard of them, but again, I didn't know she was in them. I was under the impression maybe she had been in like a series, like a 6 to 10 episode series. You'd get an idea of her acting range today then, but like one of the reasons I bring this up is Natty Knox is getting some play, and rightfully so, with the Halloween reunion there and Robert Englund being involved. However, it seems a lot of people have just jumped to the conclusion or the assumption that she's the lead, and she's not. She's just a part in the movie. So I believe more specifically she's playing the mother of the kids in the movie. So what her role will be in the movie, I don't know. But I think it's a stretch to think that she could lead, a big blockbuster Halloween movie. I think you need to find a creative way to bring her back. I would say this though, I'm very convinced that at some point in time, Danielle Harris will play Jamie Lloyd again. I don't know how. It might be one of these It's Me Billy deals or something where you have guys like Dave and Bruce who go out there and make fan films for $100,000, $120,000. I could see her doing something like that. I honestly could. But I do believe in some way, shape, or form she will play Jamie Lloyd again.
Hey, Randy, let's put our money together.
No, you're probably right, Sean. I would assume that. I mean, it seems that that's what a lot of people are doing nowadays too. So I'm definitely not going to rule that out either.
Greg says never Hike Alone has proven horror franchises don't need crazy budgets. I agree. I completely agree. Those Never Hike Alone movies are fantastic. If anybody's juicing for more Jason and they don't want to wait for another movie or this Crystal Lake series,
go watch them
and go check out the Never Hike Alone movies. They're just wonderfully done, and I think it's a great example. I think it needs to be a little bit more than that, though. There are still differences between doing that as a fan film and doing another low budget film. But I'm somebody that is totally convinced that you could go make a Halloween or a Friday the 13th film today, and not have it be too over the top, and it be $3 million to make. Doesn't mean it's going to be $3 million to market. If you're going to the cinemas, it's going to cost more than that. But there's a way to do this without blowing your brains out and having to make $50 or $60 million just to break even. I firmly believe that. I'm going to go back to the chat here for a few. Jade says Loomis is the main character. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. I agree. Totally. Gotkey, Mr. Wayne Gotkey, dude. I will forever love saying your last name. How you doing, buddy? I think Halloween H2O is pretty much done as well. Hasn't Josh Hartnett been pretty consistent on not wanting to revisit that role? Well, I will say this. Josh Hartnett, in my opinion, has more star power than Danielle Harris, and I don't particularly believe it's close, and yet I don't believe Josh Hartnett has the same star power he had 15 years ago. So I'm not saying there's anything on the front burner. I'm not even saying there's been discussions. Although I do believe he was approached about appearing in the David Gordon Green trilogy. Don't know for what character. But I would not rule out them doing hey, this is the actual sequel to Halloween H2O, or something along those lines. I might not be the biggest H2O fan, but you would have to be living under a rock to think that it doesn't have a pretty big following amongst Halloween fans. Basically, I'm saying money talks. Jeff Kidd says, yeah, I think he would too, Matt. But I just haven't heard about him mentioning it first, but I could see him agreeing if approached and the pay is good. I don't know who Jeff is referring to. This must have been further back.
He's talking about Josh Hartnett.
This is the problem. They are timestamped. So, yeah, I'm only about 6 minutes behind. Yeah, so I don't see anything overly relevant to Halloween still to go. That's a lie. Andy says, Danielle Harris has some major acting chops, even more so than most people in horror today. I think she can absolutely lead a new Halloween movie. I have nothing to debate about her ability to act. It's all about the ability to market her. And I think that's where they run into some problems. How about you fellas?
I mean, you're right. We all know that she can act. Or if she couldn't, she wouldn't be still getting roles today. But again, like you're saying, Josh Hartnett definitely has a lot more star power, even though it's even diminished over the years. Whereas she's still doing, the smaller films and, doing fairly well with them. But to market her to be the lead, that's why I was saying earlier, you really need to have a stellar cast around her to kind of help build her up. So you're not really trying to sell people on her so much as you are everybody else. And that would be that's the only way I could see like a big budget Halloween movie with her in technically the lead would work.
That's like I said, I think you could do a movie with her, Josh Hartnett, and if you someone as Pleasance's son or something like that, that's where your star power could come in. I think that could work.
Well, I mean, I think that'd be a good, a good transition to put have like a Sins of the Father type storyline, possibly. I think that would go a long way, because you could actually have the town actually turn on the son because of what his father did all those years ago, or how he scared the hell out of the town all those years ago with Michael and things like that. So yeah, I can see how that would work.
I mean, you don't need Jamie Lee Curtis. You can bring back the kid's father, Jimmy, Lance Guest. Come on.
Joel, how's it going, by the way? Long time no see, buddy. I love Danielle Harris, but I think Joel's point is valid here. Enough Danielle Halloween stuff. Well, that's probably not going to stop, man. It's run its course. That's probably not true either. But other than Halloween fans, she has no star power. I think that's a completely valid argument. I do, and I think that's where it comes down to. I know there was talk at some point about a Halloween anthology TV series, wherever they'd go with that, in terms of like streaming services. More than likely, you might get 8 episodes, and every single episode is a different story, almost like a 45-minute to an hour mini movie. I could see them revisiting that character in something like that, whether it involves Michael Myers on the other side or not. That to me is probably the closest you're going to get to Danielle Harris reappearing in an official way. I hope I'm wrong, at least as Jamie Lloyd. I hope I'm wrong. I actually think her performance as Annie in the 2 Rob Zombie films, even though I don't like them, is better than the original actress.
I agree.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, sticking with horror, there's a lot going on with the Friday the 13th franchise right now. There's some video talk. I don't even have the name in front of me. I'm going to try to not butcher it, but I believe Harry Manfredini, composer for the Friday the 13th franchise, spilt the beans on a game. And I know a lot of people have questioned whether it's legitimate or not. There seems to be something to this, though. And I think the fact that the dude goes out of his way to mention the characters are going to be a little more realistic, it's going to be a different style game than the last one, lets you know that, come on. He wouldn't know those details, in my opinion anyways, if he wasn't involved. Unless he's just speaking out of his ass and he has nothing better to do, which is possible. But I believe there is a Friday the 13th game coming. Crystal Lake production stopped at the moment during the writing process, obviously with the writer's strike. And then there was the rumors of a possible another movie. In my opinion, fellas, the Friday the 13th franchise right now has way more potential and definitely are going through happier days than they have in a long time. And I'm thrilled for the fan base. I'm just wondering where you guys fall with that and what you're most excited for coming up.
Well, I think. Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead. No, you go.
All right. I was gonna say, for me, the idea of just getting more is always exciting. It's another game, like we were talking the other day. It's just if it's story driven, and even if it's like I wouldn't say choose your own adventure, but like you were talking, something like Until Dawn, where each decision you make can affect the outcome of the story. Something like that would be absolutely amazing. But until we get more information, we really don't know. Obviously, with the stoppage for the TV series, it's a bummer, but at least we know that for sure is coming down the pike, and as soon as this writer strike ends, we'll actually finally get in that. Which, again, I'm really excited just for the fact that we're going to get lore, and we only know so much about Jason and even really his mother. So just getting some of this backstory that we've never gotten before, and it's in a very serious, not so campy tone. I'm all for it. And as for a movie, where do you go? That's the real thing. I mean, do we start fresh, or do we try to, continue off the reboot from all those years ago, or do we go completely out of left field and try something original? Which, granted, original is a very hard thing to come by nowadays. But given what you've seen with the fan films, that there's a hunger for more Friday the 13th content, and I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. So I'm excited.
I think for me, I'm really excited about the series. Really, it's like I've wanted to always know for so long his backstory. And now we're finally getting it. What made his mother as crazy as she was? Was she crazy before? Jason, who is Jason's father? How does he play into this story? As far as the game, hey,
did we lose Matt? I think Matt froze.
He did freeze.
Very uncompelling way for unflattering way for Matt to freeze there. I think he was just talking about how much the Packers are terrible. Back you froze with your mouth wide open.
What was the last thing? Did you hear me say?
You talk about the game.
Yeah, we go back to that version. I love that version because Jason couldn't kill me in that version. He kicked my butt in the game a couple that we just got not too long ago. But as far as the movie, as long as they picked the guy who directed the Never Hike Alone series, because his vision and how he put it all together is probably one of the best things we've ever seen is in a Friday 13th movie. I'll be so glad they went in direction with him.
I'm really curious, honestly, how people are going to take Crystal Lake because, it's not called Jason Voorhees. It's not called Friday the 13th. It's Crystal Lake. And while they have said that Jason will appear at some point in time, I really don't think he's going to be the focus early. And I wonder if people are going to have the patience. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Hannibal with Mikkelsen there.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen, yeah.
Yeah, like that show to me, and I haven't seen it in years, was fantastic.
That was a slow burn.
It is a slow burn, and I worry because, like, I'd argue a lot of the Friday the 13th movies aren't even close to a slow burn. I don't think they're long enough to be a slow burn, and I do worry that people might lose interest in the style of show that they put out for Friday the 13th, or pardon me, Crystal Lake. And yet for me, I'm all for it, man. The idea of A24 getting their hands on this franchise and putting their look and aesthetic into it. Give me the slow burn story. I know people love the campy feeling of the early Friday movies. But for me, and I know I'm in the minority here, my favorite Friday movie is the Friday remake with Jared Padalecki as the star. And like, I love that movie. I think it's great. I think they had a chance to continue on from there, and just it all fell apart. So I'm more open to something different than I think a lot of people are. I'm just curious if you guys totally buy into the idea, or not necessarily buy into the idea, pardon me, but if you think the fan base, the Friday fan base, even though they've had to wait so long, can they deal with a show that might be such a slow burn that maybe Jason doesn't appear until the end of the first season? Or even longer?
True fans will. The true fans will be able to, because they know the payoff. They know it's going to happen eventually, and so as long as you know the payoff and have the patience, because patience is the name of the game with this, then they'll be okay.
I feel like if the people are willing to just give it a chance, because obviously it's going to be well written, it's going to be well directed, and sometimes you don't even need the main character at least the character you're showing up for, especially if you understand what you're getting into. If you're just kind of showing up going, oh, this is based on Friday 13th, okay, where's Jason? Maybe it's a different story. But for people who are just like, get that, have the setup in the very first couple episodes where they set the tone and give you an idea of exactly where things are going, it's like, okay, and it's going to be well done. It will be, just because of the studio behind it. I feel like those people who know what Hannibal's about, who know what A24 puts out, I think those are the people that you're really going to sit down and really enjoy this series, and you may get some new Friday the 13th fans out of it because of it.
Well, Matt's getting ready to do a slow burn because Matt is about to dive headfirst into Game of Thrones for the first time, and I'm excited for that. We might be doing something on the channel as related to that. By the way, I'm going to take this moment now before I address some of actually, you know what? Let's address the Friday questions in the chat first. Next Gen says maybe the series will tie into the new movie once it's finished. Depending on how long it lasts, it could release not until the 50th anniversary. So normally I'd scoff at the idea of that and think there's no chance that they're going to do a whole TV series that leads into a movie. But guess what the Star Wars franchise is doing? So I'm going to no longer say that's not possible and say, yeah, that could be very possible at this point, for all I know. I didn't think Star Wars would do that. I know some of the biggest Star Wars insiders there are on the internet didn't think Star Wars would do that. And Star Wars is, in fact, doing that if they ever release another movie, with the way things are going. Justin says he's a huge Friday fan, but has no interest in the show. Fans want a movie, not a show. See, I don't understand that, man. And I know you and I've talked wrestling before, and I know you're a common contributor here at Fandom Empire, but I would think if the show is done right, that you would want the show more than the movie because you spend more time with the characters. It's more of an investment. Now, if the show's done terribly, I'm totally with you. Get it done and over with in 90 minutes and get me the hell out. But I'm not saying it's going to be Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones would not work with movies. It just would not. There's not enough time there, even though they intended to end Game of Thrones with 2 movies. So for me personally, I think if a show's done right, it's more compelling, and it feels like the payoff at the end is worth more because you've spent more time with the characters you're following. Where do you guys fall on that in terms of movie versus show?
I think at some point, I think it's very possible that the series itself could lead into a movie, but also there's that part of me that would love to just see a movie, even it has nothing to do with the series, even if it's something completely in the opposite direction of everything they've done, something new, wild, crazy, whatever. Just more Jason is always fun, but that's because I enjoy the movies. I enjoy the movies immensely. They're my favorite 80s slasher movies. So it's one of those things where I was kind of like this with Star Wars when I saw, I was like with The Mandalorian. I was like, what are we getting here? And now I can't imagine not, I love the anticipation of waiting for that new season of The Mandalorian. And of course, now with Filoni getting to direct his own Star Wars movie that's going to tie the Mandoverse together. I mean, I'm excited for that. So I can see Friday doing that as well. They haven't, if the series is done well enough, I can see that happening, and I would be okay with it.
I said it in the chat. I want a Jason movie. Like Jason killing. But I want a TV backstory. Because I don't think you can tell this story in a 45-minute episode. Or I mean, I'm not 45-minute episode, but a 80, let's say 90-minute movie. So give it time, let it. What's the word I'm looking for? Feel out and everything. I just have a hard time. I'm not going to watch it because it's a TV show. I think if you give it a chance, and it sucks. It sucks. But I don't think somebody, a Friday the 13th fan, a legitimate Friday the 13th fan, is going to say, I'm not going to watch it. Because your curiosity is going to allow you to watch it. And if you don't like it, and if it's crap, we'll say it's crap. But I don't think it's going to be crap. A24 is behind it, and A24 hasn't put out crap.
There's some people that, and it's not a knock on them, that just aren't all that interested in watching A24 material, you know? And yet, I think, and I'm not saying it's all good, you know, you can probably find flaws in something, everybody does. But I think, like, I'm a little jealous, if I'm being honest, that the Friday the 13th franchise is getting a series, and it's being done by, what's the fella's name that did Hannibal? His name's slipping my mind.
I know you're talking about.
Someone in the chat put it in if they can, or if someone can search it up. But he just did an incredible job on Hannibal. You add A24 to the mix as well. And it's like, can I trade my David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy for that setup, please? I'll sign up for that. But I'm sure the Friday the 13th franchise would also sign up for 3 films making over $100 million each. One of them over $200 million. So
Brian Fuller,
that's it. Thank you very much, Matt. Brian Fuller, absolutely. So I want to take a second here. We're going to get back to the chat in a second. But Fuller, yes, thank you, sir. It was Fuller. We got some content coming for you guys next week. Lots of it. So first up, pardon me, that's not first up. Nope, that's not first up either. There we go. First up, coming June the 21st, Halloween the Missing Years. The three of us, Matt, myself, and Randy, are going to dive in to Halloween the Missing Years, which is covered in the Taking Shape 2 novels by Dustin McNeil. Definitely a great purchase if you can. I've been listening to the audiobook after reading it. They kind of do the audiobook a little different than the book's laid out, in my opinion. And I enjoy it quite a bit. But we're going to talk about these movies, and you'll get the initial. It's not a live stream, though. Got to warn everybody now. It'll be like a short little 10-minute video, and then we'll have part 2 that will be available over on our Patreon, Fandom Unplugged, which is available for all Patreon tiers June the 22nd, the following day, a roundtable discussion about Halloween the Missing Years. Then you'll be able to catch the third and final part on the Lampkin Lane tier, those of you that subscribe over there and have for a very long time, June the 26th on Patreon. So those are our 3 big Halloween videos that are in the process of being worked on, and we'll get them out to you sometime in the next week. I'm ready to jump to indie if you guys are, because I actually find a lot of the stuff coming out from last night's US premiere quite interesting. You guys ready to move on?
Let's go.
All right, let's see if I can do this right, not screw this thing up. Haven't done this one on a live stream yet. There we go. It worked. All right, so we got 10 reactions from last night's US premiere here that we're going to go through for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Before we get in them, are either of you guys seeing this movie? I'm a huge Harrison Ford guy, so like for me, and like I'm not a for me, Indiana Jones is not Star Wars. So, you know, there's that. But I still really enjoy the movies, like a lot. You know, it's not one of my most favorite franchises, but I'm definitely going to go see this thing, and hopefully, you know, it's close to opening night as possible. What about you guys?
I will be seeing it opening night and night before.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go go see it. I'd like to see it. Thursday night, open night, one of those two. But even if I don't, I'm seeing it one way or another.
Yeah, I'm excited for the send off. I mean, well, the supposed send off. Who knows? Harrison Ford's built like a fucking machine. So Joey says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was one hell of a wild and adventurous ride. It was an absolute blast. Jeff Ewing says Indiana Jones is firmly in the middle of the Jones pack for me. It's on target with its core themes, but lacks the surprise and magic of I don't even know what the hell that says. IJ at its best. There are key elements that fundamentally don't work in terms of plot logic. Still fun to see Ford punch Nazis again. I mean, it's always fun. What's your guys' favorite indie flick?
Last Crusade.
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, it's a tie between Last Crusade and Temple of Doom. Obvious. I mean, we all grew up on that stuff, so it's one of those. It's just one of those movies that no matter how many times you rewatch it, it gives you that. I'm a kid in the theater with my thing of popcorn and just kicking back and enjoying Indy just doing his thing.
Courtney says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny stinks. Follows a marvelous pattern of chasing the MacGuffin pieces. That form of powerful doohickey. I've never heard that term. Doohickey. Down in between layers and poor character development and no thrill exploration until it's way too late. Poor pacing makes it a bore. Wow. That person obviously did not like the hors d'oeuvres they say are served last night at the premiere. Holy crap. No, I mean, it might be legitimate. I got to say, I'm not a Temple of Doom guy. I'm not rushing back to watch Temple of Doom anytime soon. Lee says the Dial of Destiny is a solid entry into the franchise. Don't let the initial festival reviews scare you away from this film. Too much de-aging used, less is more, and the runtime needs to be trimmed, but overall, very much enjoyed it. Where do you guys fall on the whole de-aging thing and how much Disney is using it and seemingly plans to continue to use it?
I think as far as what we know about this storyline, it works. It has to work because to tell about what's going on in the now, you got to go to the past. And like they said, it wasn't that hard because they had so much material to work with from all the previous indie movies. I mean, and it looks a lot from the indie I see, from the snips and everything. It looks like it's a lot of Last Crusade facial features, in my opinion. But I'm for the de-aging process as long as it works for the movie. But I kind of like what this person said a little bit. Maybe too much can be not a great thing. Less is more. I just hope they don't overdo it. But from what I heard, the first 20 or 30 minutes is practically backstory. So I don't know.
I think when it comes to the whole de-aging thing, Disney's been doing this for years now. I mean, you look back at Tron Legacy, which I think is the first time they really used that technology, and then you go to Rogue One, which they did part of it well and part of it not so good, but a lot of that had to do with the lighting of the characters. I feel like with Tarkin, the way they used the shadows with that, it made it look really
Tarkin
well
was
done.
Perfect. Yeah,
Leia, because they were saturated in white because they were going for that, A New Hope aesthetic. It really was just blatant and obvious that it was CG. And then, but the way I see it for indie, as long as it fits the story, that's fine. If it's something that just seems out of place, I can understand that the whole less is more. But as long as it fits the story and it's well done, very well, and considering the fact that Disney's been working on perfecting this type of technique for a while now, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as it, looks good. To me, it's got to look good. And I think I don't think Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian season 2 looks good. I don't at all. And
It
yet I
looked
enjoyed it.
rushed.
It didn't take me out of the moment. I loved it. It still felt like Luke to me. But I also am the type of person, and it doesn't have to be Sebastian Stan, but it could have been actor X comes in there as Luke Skywalker, and I still would have bought it. I'm not somebody that believes that the actors are more important than the characters, and I think Harrison Ford has really tried to get that point across for a long time. And Mark Hamill recently too, actually. But then you see what they did in the Book of Boba Fett, and it's like, oh my
10 times
god!
better.
Keeping in mind the guy they used in the Book of Boba Fett was different than the guy in Mando, and the guy they used in the Book of Boba Fett looks much closer to Mark Hamill than the guy they used.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I think they also brought in the CG artist who touched up the Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian season 2 because they actually, and I think they brought him in to help do that because his deep fake for the de-aging process for Luke was so much more spot on than what Disney did. I think they actually ended up hiring him to work on Book of Boba Fett for when they brought Luke in.
Justin, did they have flying monkeys? I don't believe so. The CG looked really bad in one trailer. I hope they touched it up. The first trailer they released didn't do them any favors. I agree. Talking Star Wars, what's going on? Speaking of The Last Crusade, did y'all know both Sean Connery and Harrison Ford were considered for Jurassic Park? Sean wanted more money, and he would have been Hammond, and Spielberg wanted Harrison for Grant. I did not know this. I got to find some reading material on this. That's very, very interesting. That said, I'm a pretty big Sam Neill guy too, and I think he does just fine as Grant. So,
agreed.
Apologies for that. My dog.
Oh, he was just agreeing.
Yeah,
he's a Sam Neill fan too.
This is the last one we'll read, and then we'll move on. We'll take a short little 2 or 3 minute break, and then move on to wrestling. John Hoey, he's from the Star Wars Newsnet. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is a beautifully shot, pulpy adventure like Raiders with heart, humor, and challenge of belief of the Last Crusade. Pardon me. A fitting entry and ending to the franchise. Fans of Indy will enjoy the ride. I look forward to seeing it again. This baby moves. So we have one person who criticizes the pace and another person who's saying, it just moves. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what reactions we read on here, go see the movie for yourself and judge the movie for yourself. There's nothing wrong with going and getting an idea of what other people are saying, but don't let them be your opinion. Form your own opinion. That's what I would say. Out of the reviews, guys, what do you think? Mixed reaction? It's about what I kind of expected, to be honest. It seems like very few movies are overly positive these days by critics.
Well, and it seems like a lot of people are almost like they're trying to look for reasons to not like movies. It's kind of crazy to think about, and a lot of these reviewers, not all of them like the genre that they're being forced to review. So when they go in there, they just, they take a big old dump on it because it's like, this is not my movie. I don't like this type of movie. Why did my guy send me here to review this? Here, I'll review it for him. There, that's your review. And
there was this guy who wrote for the Richmond Times-Dispatch named Daniel Neiman. I'll never forget the guy's name. And unless it was a period piece or something with some British piece, he bashed it. Literally, I don't care if it was Titanic. He bashed it. Hang
on. Okay, look. I know there's people that are going to bash Titanic because it's supposed to be like the cool thing to do. That film is glorious. We had a chance to go see I hated that it was in 3D, although it didn't actually bother me. Most 3D movies bother me. But we got to see it in IMAX. We got to see Titanic in IMAX. And I have to tell you, a movie that was made, let's see, I'm not great at counting here, but 25 years ago, or came out 25 years ago. It looks fan-fucking-tastic. It's great. It's awesome. I was talking to my fiance a couple weekends ago. It's like, I kind of want to show my 14-year-old son Titanic, and I think he would love everything. Like he's read up on the history of it. I think that he would love From the Time It Hits the Iceberg. Okay. But I don't know if he could deal with how long it takes to go from the beginning of that to there. But here's what I would argue.
Shut up, Randy. Because I see your face.
There's a story coming here, and I can't wait to hear it.
No, it's not a story. I just know what he's thinking. I've known him 20 years, so I kind of know where his mind's at. So 14.
for me, it was like I thought about just showing him, okay, the ship hits the iceberg. Let's watch from here. And I also think, and I truly believe this, if you watch the way that movie's laid out, like seriously, watch scene for scene, every single place that they show you earlier in the movie, you see during the sinking of the Titanic. So I don't know if you can appreciate the sinking of the Titanic unless you've seen the scale of the ship and everything that's going on prior to that. I don't know if you would appreciate it in that way. And I'm really, I get it. He's only 14, but like, me now in my mid 30s, it's kind of like, yeah, you know what? I hadn't seen Titanic in its, full entirety in over 10 years. We've seen it, and I appreciated it way more watching it from beginning to end. Where do you guys fall on the Titanic in general? Way to go. You brought us down the Titanic trail there, Matt.
I know for me, it's one of those movies. I mean, if I see it on and there's nothing really else on, I'll have it on in the background. Like Paramount's playing it. Paramount, it seems like every other day Paramount's playing it. It's either that or Forrest Gump. Those two movies are on Paramount Channel a lot, but it was a well done movie. I remember seeing it in the theater. I grew up on the history. Also myself, my dad's a big history buff, and so I knew about the Titanic. I knew about it the '85 trip because my dad was trying to get everything. I think it was '85 or '86 when they took the tank down and got pictures of the Titanic. My dad was trying to find stuff like that. So it's been deep rooted in me, and just to see that movie, I mean, and how it's like you feel so bad, knowing what happened, but then putting it to screen. Especially when you see that old couple and that water's just coming in and everything. If that doesn't pull on your heartstrings, I don't know what will. Or the lady talking to her two kids.
But before Randy gets in here, and I'm really excited to hear what Randy's going to say because I feel like he's about to just annihilate Titanic. For the love of God, I can't believe I actually got into an argument with this about someone. Rose and Jack, not real people. Story made up to bring emphasis to the sinking of the Titanic. James Cameron has said this time and time again, and yet people just want to make it seem like it actually happened. I mean, maybe there was could you theoretically have seen that situation happening on that ship with maybe not exactly how it plays out, but something like that? For sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. People cheat all the time. People get abused all the time. And both of those things happen in the Titanic, but no, Rose and Jack aren't real. All right, Randy, wound me here, man. I feel like it's coming.
Why am I going to wound you? I've actually seen the movie more than once, the first time I saw it in theaters, it had me enthralled. The effects that were done, the setting and like the transitions from looking at stuff underwater to, actually getting to see what it may have actually looked like, even though I know they had, pictures and they took the pictures from, museums and whatnot that they had in history and just kind of tried to translate it onto the screen. I felt like the story itself was very well done, very well directed. I felt like all the actors really did a great job. I mean, like I said, I've watched it more than once, so it's not like I'm going to crap on the movie. It's a great movie. But I also feel like for even a young person, it's worth watching all the way through, just because there is some history to it. There is the historical accurate stuff, which is really fun to learn, but also you have to look at the fact that the character development and seeing how they started and where they ended. And because as we know, some of those characters, if memory serves me correctly, are based, are real people. Now, granted, they're not, biographically accurate, and they're kind of a little bit, played up a little bit. But it's just the idea that you get to see these characters go through a journey, and then you see the end result. And some of these characters, you're like, good, you got what you deserved. And some of these characters, you're like, damn, I really feel bad for you. And because there's certain things you just don't understand. Like if you don't understand the physics of what happens when something that size goes underwater, it's heartbreaking to understand like that whole end scene when the thing finally goes down and all those people that just got pulled down with the ship, regardless if they had a life vest on or not.
And the ironic thing was, I know enough history with the movie and with the real life and everything. Everybody at that table, the big dinner scene and everything, and Jack's there.
Mm-hmm.
The only people that weren't historically accurate characters was Jack, Rose, and her mother. Everybody else was. A lot of people don't realize that.
Even Billy Zane's character?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess he did go on to become. I think he went on. I forget what he went on to become, but he ended up taking his own life at some point.
They were an oil family.
So
his father was an oil tycoon.
Wow. All right. Well, let's take the. How do you guys need a bathroom break here or something? I'm gonna take a 2-minute break and then we'll get to wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
good.
We'll be back with CM Punk and the Elite drama. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Fandom Empire Live. If you haven't yet, please take a moment, like the video. That goes for everybody out there. Comment, subscribe if you haven't, to keep up to date with all the content we have coming. And there's a ton of it. There is. We're not just one channel anymore. We're 3 channels, which is, it's definitely a lot different now. We just put this video out over on the Legacy of Westeros. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and Night of the Seven Kingdoms, or anything else from that area of fandom, check out the Legacy of Westeros. We just did a Jon Snow show update, development in the future of the show, and we got more coming over there as well. And actually, we also just launched the Legacy of Star Wars, where we had a gameplay walkthrough. Randy and I did, and briefly here, I guess, before we touch on wrestling, I just want to say, man, I know we have our own Star Wars channel for this, but I'm still incredibly pleased with everything we were able to get out of Star Wars Outlaws, just because I don't know if anybody was expecting a drop of that size to happen. I think we thought something was coming for some Star Wars game, but I'm really liking everything I'm seeing. I just hope they don't rush it. Where are you at with this, Randy?
Well, I agree. I knew it was in development. I didn't know the name was Outlaws, but I knew it was coming. I knew that. I just didn't know when. So just getting it and seeing what we've seen so far, seeing the gameplay mechanics that they've got, that they're planning on giving us, it gets me excited. I can't wait to see more. Obviously, like you, I don't want them to rush it. I want it to be as complete as humanly possible, with minor patches needed on day one. You know, we don't need another Jedi Survivor debacle like we got. So it's just take your time. As long as it's done well, don't worry. You're gonna make your money back. No questions asked.
Yeah, and there's more details coming out about the game each and every day. As a True over on his gaming channel that he does, had a great video about more details in terms of the open world elements. And as more come out, we'll probably do more videos ourselves and cover that stuff as we go. So yeah, check out the Legacy of Star Wars. It's our other YouTube channel. Just type it in. You can also find a link to the channel down in the description of the video. And the Legacy of Westeros, your one-stop shop for all things Westeros, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and more. And Mr. Matt Whitfield is going to be tackling Game of Thrones here soon. It's a slow burn. I hope he can get through the first few episodes, because it really becomes something else after that. However, gentlemen, there's a little issue to talk about. CM Punk and the Elite. So let me ask you guys off the top if you've heard the noise that's going on today surrounding this.
I haven't.
I can't say I have either. I do know that there was, if memory serves me correctly, there was supposed to be an interview with Punk on ESPN. So I'm going to assume that he said some stuff during that is causing issues.
Yeah, that's apparently the story. So I don't want to read it word for word, because I think people should go, and because they're both behind paywalls, and I think people should go pay for that content for the people that are creating it. First one comes from Wade Keller from PW, and he basically just said he got the feeling something bad was going to happen this week, and something was going to come out, and it wasn't going to help matters any in terms of CM Punk and the Elite, and he left it at that. And it kind of came across as like a big smear campaign. Not sure if that's what his goal is. I will say since then, Fightful has, I would say they backed up just a little tiny bit of what they said, what Wade Keller had said. But basically, in a nutshell, it was AEW who set up the interview with CM Punk and ESPN. It's not like ESPN just went to Punk. AEW set it up. This is an AEW ran thing. So apparently Punk says some not great things about Hangman Adam Page in the interview, and the Elite in general. And keep in mind, AEW monitored the bloody interview. Okay, So if they were okay with it, why is this even a discussion unless someone else is putting something out there? I truly don't know, because now you have reports, and this is straight from Fightful Select, that a lot of people backstage are not particularly happy with the secondhand, I guess, reviews, if you will, of the comments that are made in the interview. This interview still hasn't been released yet, by the way. It didn't come out today, so I'm guessing it's coming out tomorrow because it was supposed to be today or tomorrow. I like, forgive me for going down this route and being a CM Punk homer, but for the love of fucking God, if you're bringing this guy back, you're not bringing him back to be Officer Phil Brooks, who's going to show up in a 3-piece suit and speak politely. And there's a difference between speaking about All Out Brawl Out and just bad mouthing other wrestlers in general, which happens all the time. This just feels like somehow this leaked, and there's a lot of people on the elite side of things not being very rational about this, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this, if it is true? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. The ESPN interview is true. That's legit. But to me, it's kind of like, so what? Like, you got to make some money off this one way or another. Thoughts, fellas?
I feel like this is just something that's, you know, people know, kind of, you know, some people who follow religiously will understand, you know, All Out and what happened there. And as we all know, it's been pretty much, you know, told that an NDA has been signed by by Punk and the Elite where they cannot discuss certain things. And the thing is even before this all happened, we all know that Hangman and Punk were at odds to begin with. So if he's in character, why would he still even have anything good to say about Hangman when you think about it? So I really feel like this, even if the interview comes out and it's exactly as people are saying, and if AEW is monitoring it, there's a really good chance it's just a shoot. And if that's the case, it's just to keep people invested and keep, you know, just kind of like, oh, there's still drama. We got to see how this unfolds. And maybe that's the direction they're going. Or maybe they're doing this to kind of give a legit reason why Punk is staying away and Collision is all him. Who knows? But, you know, they got, you know, if it's obviously it's making its rounds on social media. So clearly it's done its job. People are talking about it. So people are going to tune in, especially now with Punk having his little vignette, you know, last night where he's going, hey, I got a lot to get on my chest. And, you know, so we'll see exactly what happens on Saturday. But I just think it's done to help, you know, put more eyeballs on the TV screens for what Punk has to say on Collision.
I agree. Like, this is CM Punk 101. Like, he knows how to attract an audience. Like him or hate him, he knows how to get people talking. And guess what? With all due respect to the Elite fans, and they are plenty talented and definitely have a big part to do with this company because they're part of the reason it exists to begin with. But there's a reason why places like ESPN and Fox, well, not Fox, but other big, you know, networks want to interview Punk and not Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson. You know, Kenny Omega's gotten some of those interviews too. I'll give him that, especially up here in Canada on TSN and on Sportsnet. But Punk's a draw. You know, maybe the ticket sales aren't overly inspiring in Canada, but they also oversaturated the hell out of the market. I just want to go through some of these tweets here in a second. But Matt, your take on this, man. Like, for me, it's like the interview's not even out yet. This kind of feels like it's the Elite's doing, if, you know. I don't mean necessarily Matt and Nick Jackson. I mean people that are in their little...
Or associated with them.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I can definitely see that.
Brandon, whatever his face there, zebra stripe mask guy.
Brandon Cutler.
Yeah. We all seen him blow up at Punk on Twitter, and then it was taken down and deleted. And I mean, that blew up for a little bit, and it was like, It's I don't know, guys. Shouldn't all these guys be working together to create money and business and get eyeballs on their product? Aren't they all, at the end of the day, still working for the same team? Doesn't feel like it. It seems like there's this hidden agenda if you're to believe what's out there. They're trying to basically force the guy out of the company, or vice versa, depending on how you look at it.
Well, my personal feelings about the Jacksons. I think they're a bunch of, lack of a better word, bitches. Because this is another example. If this isn't true, that they're going right now and turning around and trying to make Punk look weak, or I think they're more jealous than anything, and this is BS. And I think Randy hit it pretty much what I was going to say on the head. So, and I mean, I think it's just BS and jealousy, and they can't help. I mean, he's a bigger draw than them, and they don't like it. At the end of the day,
it's going to look really bad if the collision number on Saturday, a harder night to draw number, is better than the number that they put up on Wednesday. I'm just saying.
I think it's going to happen.
I'm not sure it's going to happen, man. I love Punk, but Saturday night that's tough. I suppose they're lucky the NBA and the NHL finals both ended somewhat early.
Yeah. I think that's another thing they got going in their favor for sure.
I like this tweet. According to multiple reports reported by reporters reporting on CM Punk is reportedly being described in reports as being reported on by various reporters. That's kind of what it feels like. It goes on almost a daily basis.
And here's the thing. That just means he's done his job.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
By the way, did you guys see that hype video? I actually quite liked it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And that he's going to get, we're going to get, I don't know if we're going to get the Rampage, the first Rampage when he showed up. We're going to get that type of pop where you couldn't even hear his music, but you're going to get a loud ass pop on Saturday.
No, for sure. I can't fucking wait. I'm selfishly hoping that the three of them have coordinated Bret Hart style gear for the 6-man tag match. I think it's coming. I've seen the shirt. So, and actually, the shirt has a name to it too. I think it's called the Foundation, which would make sense. I could see that as their little stable name, and they've just dropped Hart from it.
Well, he's going to be doing. He's all about doing stuff like that because remember the pay-per-view when he came out to his Ring of Honor entrance and had his Ring of Honor gear. He's gonna feed into that. He's going to feed into getting the crowd hype and coming out and just blowing people away. But that's what Tony Khan wants him to do. So you need that draw, especially to start a brand new show. And given what we saw last night, I really hope that they continue this trend on Saturday because that's going to show everybody that it doesn't matter what Punk says. It doesn't matter what people say in the background. Punk is here to stay and that he is going to be a big draw on Saturday.
I'm going to say this. If he willingly talked about the Elite and Hangman with ESPN and AEW is completely okay with it, at least Tony Khan was anyways, the Elite might not be. I've now changed my stance on that opening promo. I think he might go out there and just trash the shit out of them. And I would be so for it because you can trash them without talking about what happened at Brawlout. And yet, the eye wink, it can still work. And the one thing I would say, I'll predict this. After Saturday night, someone on that side of the fence is not going to be happy over something that he says. I guarantee it. That'll be out there. I like this tweet though. Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, and Wade Keller clearly want CM Punk gone from AEW. No one should take these guys seriously when it comes to CM Punk. I would love to say that this guy is just a Punk mark. And I'm a little bit of a Punk mark, but I actually completely agree with him, and the evidence has been there the entire time.
Yep.
Well, and I think there's some of these guys are kind of hoping that Punk leaves and that he can mend fences with WWE and head back there. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I could ever see Punk go back to WWE and be on TV. Obviously, he worked a little bit with them on one of their talk shows. It was what FS1 or something like that. But still,
but Fox was paying him. WWE wasn't.
But you know what I'm saying? Working with WWE still,
Yeah.
like working with with the people there. And I feel like right now, Punk is where he needs to be.
I agree.
He's, there's a lot of young talent that he could help bring along. And as long as they somehow manage to keep the Elite and Punk, fairly far enough from each other to a point where at least they don't have to interact, but so much, if at all, I think it's going to be very fortuitous for AEW.
I think I don't think he deep dives into the whole thing, but I think he might say get one or two zingers out on him and just go on.
Oh, well, that's a given. You know he's going to do that.
I think there is a risk, though, of everybody else. Well, you would assume almost everybody else knows about the Brawl Out thing at this point. At least everybody going to these AEW shows.
Oh, yeah.
I seen what Justin said about the ticket sales. He helped in Chicago. He helped in other places in the States. It has not helped any in Canada because they oversaturated the hell out of the market. I think they thought they were the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're not. And plus, like when you're charging $300 for a collision ticket, when it's, people paid a little less than that to go to Forbidden Door. Come on, like wake up! Someone's not doing their shit right there.
All in's like $60 American.
It's ridiculous, man.
It's cheap.
Yeah. They've changed their stance on that now because the cheapest ticket for Hamilton, which is doing Dynamite and Collision, for the Collision show, the cheapest ticket was like $90 Canadian. Now you can get 4 tickets. You're talking whatever the worst seats are.
Nosebleeds.
4 tickets, $100. It's like that's probably what it should be for those tickets. It's a taping. It's not a pay-per-view. And when you announced it, he wasn't a part of it. Because of whatever happened there. This is basically what he said in that promo, though, since we couldn't play the audio. I'm coming back for the same reasons I came to AEW in the first place. I got scores to settle. There's still some things left to do. I won't know what I'm going to do or say till I have that microphone in my hand. I have a lot of things to get off my chest. And there was like a big dramatic pause before he said that last part. So
pipe bomb.
I really dug it. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Jamie Hayter on working with CM Punk, he's a wealth of knowledge because he's been in the business for so long and he's got extensive experience. You'd kind of be a fool to not want to pick his brain and not want to work with a guy. He knows what he's doing. And this is what I don't see getting covered enough is she's not the only AEW superstar saying this. There's a bunch of them saying this.
There's probably a lot more saying that than saying the opposite.
Man, I kind of want to play this audio clip, but it will probably demonetize us, so I'm not going to. I haven't heard it yet, but this dude tweets, "Nobody can convince me that CM Punk and the Elite haven't hashed it out or won't soon. This is whatever happened after Dynamite went off the air last night." Speaking of which, shift gears here a little bit. Dynamite last night, fellas. I know we mentioned it off the top of the show. We're getting ready to close out the show. How did you think? How did you feel about it? For me, best one I've seen in a long ass time.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those shows where it went for it right out the gate. That match was between Adam Cole and MJF was absolutely amazing. And, you were right. Cole wasn't going to beat MJF, but, they actually, one of the very few times that the company actually used the time limit draw. And that's the beauty of it. They don't use it, but so much. So that really added to the drama. And I still think these two end up fighting at the pay-per-view for the title, just because that you just left so much on the table because of that time limit draw. I'm excited for that. And then, of course, the tidbits we got for Forbidden Door, Tanahashi versus MJF.
So you think MJF versus Adam Cole at All In?
That's what I'm guessing. Because I mean, obviously,
I'd sign up for that match.
It makes sense because they left it all out there, and there's unfinished business there. So you can't say that Adam Cole is eliminated from contention because he didn't lose. But granted, yes, he didn't win, but
I think he's going to take the belt off of him at all.
Not this soon. I don't think it's going to be this soon.
I don't see why not.
I heard some guys speculating that MJF will hold on to the title at least until there's an AEW Collision. I believe it's Collision, December 30th. And he keeps going on about December 31st of this year. Now, a lot of people have already reported that he's more than likely already signed an extension with AEW. But storyline-wise, they've been doing once the year's up, he's out of here. I could see them, we're already like halfway through this year almost. Could totally see them being like, yeah, let's just run it a little further and then we'll do something with what he's been going on about for so long. Before we get to any more of Dynamite, this is the thing I was thinking about in terms of, maybe the one thing that doesn't add up with this is I don't know if this would be working because this is kind of, going out of kayfabe here a bit. It says Hangman Adam Page was brought up in CM Punk's interview with ESPN, and Punk made very clear that he didn't like Page. Punk said there were spots in their match at AEW Double or Nothing where he felt Punk was shooting on him by chopping his face. That to me doesn't feel like, if that is what's said, that doesn't feel in character.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, that match was physical. I mean, they were definitely hitting the hell. They're beating the hell out of each other. They really were going at it. And I really do feel like maybe they really just don't like each other. They just had to work together. It's kind of like Punk and Eddie. They work together, but they really don't like each other. So it's one of those things where some of that real life stuff tends to bleed over into what you see on the screen.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm the same way. That doesn't sound like him. I'm wondering when this interview. I'm curious if it's first take.
It was done.
Stephen A. talking to him.
It was done last week, I believe. I don't know who did it, but I think it was done last week. Some people in AEW interpreting CM Punk's ESPN interview needlessly inflammatory. Punk thinks he was just promoting Collision. Look, if AEW had control of it, it's discussion over at the end of the day. If they didn't like it, it'd be done. That would be it.
Well, and I think part of the problem is a lot of these social media sites, with the exception of a few, really are just going to put up anything out there they feel like is going to get them the clicks anyway. So until the interview actually drops and we actually get to know exactly what he said, it's just kind of take it with a grain of salt right now.
It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what actually makes the final edit of the interview too. So it should drop tomorrow. And honestly, it's just, look, what are they going to do? Collision is literally built around the guy. They got 2 hours more primarily because of CM Punk. I'm sorry, but that is just the truth. They were going to get a Saturday show, but it was only going to be an hour. Now, Tony Khan didn't flat out come out and say it was because of CM Punk, but they have acknowledged it was only going to be an hour. And then all of a sudden it became 2. What are they going to tell him to go home now? I don't think so. Like Tony Khan's already taken it on the chin every which way possible. To me, this is just going to keep going on until they either get someone in there to handle it, or they all sit down, hash it out, and nobody comes out until it's over, and then they move on. Because if they can get past it, they can make so much money off this. But if they can't, it's just going to be this, almost like this Harry Potter, don't ever speak his name shit. And it's honestly, I think it can be distracting from the product. I really think you could get to a point where you have the Elite fans hating on Punk so bad and Punk fans hating on the Elite so bad because the program's just not happening. I think that's a mistake for the health of AEW if it doesn't happen.
I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery puts their money into AEW if they didn't feel like the issue was either close to being resolved or wasn't already resolved, or that the potential wasn't there to just make the money because of the issue. So because if memory serves me correctly, it was like a 5-year deal, like worth $1 billion a year, essentially, that Warner Brothers Discovery is putting into AEW and for TV and things like that. So it's one of those things where if they felt like that it wasn't a good investment because of the things with Punk and the Elite, they never would have put the money into it to begin with.
It's believed that that's the deal that might be signed. At the moment, all that's been done is there's been an option picked up and then more money added to it. But I suspect that you're going to have some massive deal like that coming soon, maybe even because, think about All In hasn't even technically been announced as whatever it is yet. You don't know where it's airing. They're not calling it a pay-per-view. A lot of people said it'll air on Max. So I think once we find that out, we will find out about, a new TV deal, I would hope, at least for AEW's sake. I don't know. I think it's going to be distracting from the product if they don't. I'm not saying, hey, they have to hash this out in August. We got to see the match and everything by August. But if by this time next year we're not talking about, oh, this feud is amazing or was amazing, I think there's going to be a serious problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's one of those things where, eventually it's like, okay, enough's enough. It's time to move forward. And I can see how this definitely could cause that problem if we don't get some sort of resolution. I still feel like there is something in place to some degree, or we wouldn't be having Collision with CM Punk.
I hope so. I seriously hope so. It's almost unfathomable that a company this big and Tony Khan, who has his hands in so many different things, would still not have found a way to get past this. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Fellas, let's go around the round table here. What's just one AEW topic that you want to talk about before we end the show? Anything you want.
I'm actually really good. I'm just excited for Collision at this point.
Fingers crossed on a different set. Please be a different set. Make it feel different, please.
So I think for me, just a couple of quick hitters. Forbidden Door is definitely shaping up to be quite the pay-per-view. Tanahashi versus MJF.
But I thought that wasn't happening. I thought he said, nah, I'm good.
And I like how he did that jab. He's like, yeah, I've been booked for things and not shown up before. So I thought that was great. But also Jungle Boy and Sonata, that should be really well done, even though we know Sonata's not going to lose. But this is also could be the jumping point for Jungle Boy's heel turn. Yeah. So
they've definitely been hinting at it.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things I'm pretty excited for. So far the card they've got is, can't believe it's next Sunday too. That's just crazy to me. The card they've got so far, Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. That is going to be amazing. But that's crazy to me. That's just what we're getting in less than 2 weeks.
It's nuts. You essentially have You have Collision, and then Dynamite, and then Collision again, and then Forbidden Door, all within 8 days. All within 8 days. That's maddening. And there's a lot of talk. Will CM Punk be on Dynamite? Dynamite's going to be in Chicago on the Wednesday, and you haven't formally said to the public Punk's only going to be on Collision. I think you're going to have fans still purchasing tickets to that Dynamite on Wednesday thinking they're going to see CM Punk.
You might. You very well might still see him. Maybe see, and you can't not have the Elite on there. So especially, you definitely can't not have Kenny on it, because Kenny and Ospreay, I'm sure there's going to be something Kenny's going to want to say to him before Forbidden Doors. So I don't know. I'd be hard pressed.
I could see Punk leading the show off and then leaving. If it's that bad where they can't be in the same place together, I could see him leading it off and leaving.
Well, and you can just, be like, and you know where to find me on Saturday. Be like, if you want to hear more of the story, follow me here. That sort of thing. So, yeah, that's just crazy just thinking about how quickly all this stuff is coming together.
It's nuts. It's definitely nuts.
And plus, you got AEW Fight Forever dropping like right after Forbidden Door. So it's like AEW's got a big, 10-day span ahead of them here.
That video you sent me today, the Angry Joe one, fantastic coverage. Dude lost his footage too, and still found a way to give fantastic coverage on the game. And honestly, it made me way more excited for the game. There's a bunch of little mini clips in that review of the mini games in AEW Fight Forever. And like, it totally reminded me of like Mario Party back in the day, and games like that. It was like, so I dig that. I can totally get on board with a more arcade style wrestling game.
Well, and I think that's the smart thing to do. You're trying to be your own thing. You're trying to be different than from what WWE does. And I know Joe is one of those guys who is very hard to impress. So the fact that he was very positive about his experience with that, I mean, that says a lot about the game, and says about a lot about the people, the wrestlers he was with, and some of the developers that kind of gave him some of the information on the game itself. So I'm even more excited now, just like you. I'm even more excited now just to get my hands on it, because if he enjoyed it that much, I'm thinking maybe I'll enjoy it that much too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked to see what the game brings. I haven't been this excited for a wrestling game in a very long time. It's very, very weird and kind of surreal. But yeah, I mean, AEW Collision. We're going to have some sort of recap show for that. We don't know how, though. It might be that night. It might be the next day. It might not be till Tuesday. I don't know. But we'll be recapping the debut episode of AEW Collision here on the channel. And I'm looking forward to it. I cautiously optimistic it'll go off smoothly. My luck will wake up tomorrow and find out AEW has released CM Punk or some bullshit like that. Hopefully not. Knock on wood, please. That is going to do it for our show this evening. Be sure to check out everything that our sponsors do. Jesse, it's got a great YouTube channel. You can find it down in the description of the video. Mr. Jason Nikes putting out a new video, Backtrack Cinema. He's doing the Alphabet Action Movie Challenge, so check that out. A to Z. I asked him what his Z movie is going to be. He wouldn't answer me. How rude. Guess I'm going to have to watch the video. Definitely check it out. Chris C_78 on Instagram. You want a Myers rehaul mask done. Check him. Jeez, these animals. Apologies, people. Check that out, and check out our other associated YouTube channels. The Legacy of Westeros, your one-stop shop for all things Westeros. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and more over at the Legacy of Westeros on YouTube. And then there's our new Star Wars channel, the Legacy of Star Wars, where you can find our gameplay review and speculation of Star Wars Outlaws. Be sure to go over there, like, comment, and subscribe. It would be appreciated. Matt, dude, thanks for doing this tonight. It was a pleasure having you, man. Where can everybody find you at? You got Twitter. Where are you active on social media?
I'm my Twitter, Instagram handle.
You got a handle? Handler? You got an
Handler.
Instagram handler?
Yes, his name is Randy.
Oh, hey now, what the hell?
These are my DMs.
Kind of friggin' dark web shit you guys got going on.
It's OnlyFans shit.
Oh, no, for fuck's sake!
I was waiting for that. I knew I was going to get that out of you some way or another. No, at Matty Phillip West, Twitter, Instagram. That's where you can find me. Facebook, Matt Whitfield. So yeah, helping out on the pages, helping out with production with Sean. It's a good time.
Randy, how about you, man? Where can everybody find you at other places?
It's funny. I have an Instagram, but I never post on it. I just kind of not that person that just kind of browses and peruses. But Twitter handles the Twitter handles at Giggity Giles. I don't really post, but so much. But I do send out the occasional tweet, whether it's wrestling related or video game related. Usually, that's kind of what I do for the most part.
Are you guys not gonna plug the other thing that you're on? No.
Oh, you're talking about the Sports Brew podcast?
Yeah.
Because we're kind of like on our hiatus right now. Where once football starts back up, that's kind of when we really get going again. But since the, NHL Stanley Cup's done and NBA Finals are done, it's summer break time. So, but yeah, coming about September, we'll definitely start cranking up the Sports Brew again, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Great stuff. If you guys want to support us on another level, you can do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Join today. That's the way. Halloween, Friday the 13th, Scream, wrestling, Star Wars, Westeros, comic book shit, and Supernatural all over there on Patreon. Sign up today. It'd be appreciated. If you haven't yet, like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. I'm not sure when our next live stream will be, but it was a fun one. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for participating. More videos on the way. Matt just fell asleep literally during the outro. How about that? Maybe he's frozen. He fell asleep. That fucking guy.
Again.
I want to blow his face up and end the stream with that, but I won't be that guy. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. All right. For Randy and Matt, I'm Sean. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Lots coming. Have a great weekend.